Tackle from behind, loses the ball, it's rolling around. Can Cozad fall on? They finally force a turnover.
He's at the 50, he breaks it back, comes back across the grain. He's gonna go. Hail Caesar.
Pummels of football. Coming up with it is Gothenburg, and that's going to be a return for a touchdown. Makes the catch at the 35, breaks a tackle, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Loomis. It is fall sports season, and finally, the first week of high school football is here. Welcome into the first edition of the Press Box Preview here on KRVN. I'm John Willis, joined by Scott Foster. We are here at Ray Ehlers Stadium in Lexington, previewing the first week of high school football. We were talking about going inside a press box, but we decided it's so beautiful. It feels like fall, Scott.
It is crazy. This feels like October or September, considering last week we would have been cooking out here. This is great. It's going to be a great opening week.
Big thanks to Phil Truax of Lexington having us out here, being able to talk some high school football. We've got 3 games coming up across our airwaves on Friday. First up, Cozad, Sidney. That'll be at 7 p.m. on 93.1 The River. It'll be Jacob Roth. It'll be Tyler Cavalli on the call. Debut for new head coach Jared Crick, former Husker, former Haymaker. Comes into a team that's had some success as of late. 7-3. They made it to the playoffs. They have 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense, but they do lose their starting quarterback.
Yeah, and that's going to be the issue. And so, but the skill players, when you got Oliver Davis coming back, you're in pretty good shape. We just find a quarterback to get him the ball. He's a game changer. It's all about early on. You know, the theme here is we got lots of questions. We got lots of things we got to figure out. For Cozad, it's that front line. You know, we got some guys who can block for these skilled players.
How about Sidney? This is a team that went 11-1 last year, made it to the semifinals. They do lose some pieces, 6 starters on offense, 4 on defense, but they are a team that probably expects to be at the top of C1 again this year.
Well, most people I talked to, former Cozad head coach Jay Stuland, and he said, I've got them in their top 5. They got a lot of people back. When you got Alec Doty back, who passed for over 2,000 yards and 26 touchdowns and rushed for over 1,000. That's pretty good right there. They have built a program the Red Raiders had. It's a tough start for Coach Crick, for the Cozad Haymakers, but it's a good challenge. They did it last year.
Bring back a really good linebacker core led by Kean Kaiser as well. He had 127 tackles. Both him and Alec Doty were named to the NEB Preps unofficial preseason All-State team, but that just talks about the kind of talent. These two teams met last year. 22-13 was the final score out in Sidney, so we figure should be another good one this time around. All right, next up we've got Gothenburg, Ogallala in Gothenburg. That'll be on 880 KRVN. At 7 p.m. Let's talk about the Gothenburg Swedes. They've been so consistent, it seems like, every year with head coach Craig Hakey. 5-4 last year. When talking with Coach Hakey, he said it did feel, a little disappointing. They wanted to go further that season, but they're hungry this year. They returned 6 starters, both sides of the ball. Seems like they're geared up for a successful season.
Well, and they got 2 guys back that are going to be key to that offense and to the defense, really. Landon Marachik, who passed for over 600, ran for over 600 last year, dual threat quarterback. You know, he's going to be somebody to be reckoned with. And then they come back with Evan Johnson, who had 700 yards 2 years ago, was kind of beat up last year, had some surgery, got it all fixed up. He's ready to go. They think he's going to have a monster year. And again, much like Cozad, it's about blocking. It's about the line. If they can give these guys some room, they're going to be tough to deal with.
I feel like Evan Johnson has been one of the more underappreciated running backs in the class, so I'm excited to see what kind of season he could have. All right, Ogallala, 3-6 last season. Brent Bauer, longtime head coach, he is gone, but they do return a lot for new head coach Joe Dinan. 8 starters on offense, 9 on defense. He walks into a program that has had success over the years, but you never know how it's going to look with a first-year head coach.
No, you really don't, and that makes them kind of tough to scout, right? So they may look a little bit different as Coach Hakey and his staff gets ready to go. But one thing you know is you got Sawyer Smith, and he's pretty good. He's pretty good. So I think they're going to lean pretty heavily on him. They got some people back. Not a great team last year, but they got him back. New coach, batteries recharged. I think this will be a pretty good game, too.
Gothenburg has won 2 straight over Ogallala. They won at 35-22 a season ago. All right, finally, Lexington will take on Holdrege. That'll be in Holdrege. That's a game that can be heard on Cami Country, also our sister station KUVR, and that's an earlier kick time. That is at 6 p.m. Both teams that are looking for some improvements here to start the season. Lexington 1-8. They returned 4 starters on offense, 6 on defense, and I think the big guy you've got to circle was freshman phenom, now sophomore Tyler Thorell.
Oh, Tyler Thorell is a game changer also. As Russ Olin used to say, he's lightning in a bottle, and he can really change the game. You know, one of the things I like about this game, it's one of the oldest high school matchups in the state of Nebraska. They have played for lots and lots of years back when they used to take the train down to Holdrege to play. So I think it'll be fun that way. And you're right, both of these teams are really hungry.
Thorell, first team all-district in Class B. That's hard to do, especially as a freshman. How about Holdrege? 2-7 a season ago. They lose a lot from last year's team, especially at the skill position. They only returned 3 starters on offense, 4 on defense. Kind of a small senior class, and should be a lot of competition for spots this year.
Yeah, I think that's good, and that's a good thing. And I think one of their strengths, too, could be their offensive line. You know, their lines, unlike some of the other places we've talked about so far, their line's pretty experienced. They got some size up there. So we'll see if they're not able to go after that inexperience that Lexington has early.
It was a good game last year as well. Again, this will be a fun one to kick off the season. Holdrege narrowly defeated Lexington 35-27, and they had that play at the end of the first half, that crazy Hail Mary. So hopefully see some more fireworks again this week.
That was a fun game. That was a crazy game last year. And I think this is one of those that both of these teams looks at their schedule and say, this is one we can get. And so I think that becomes important.
Especially 2 teams that are looking to find some success. This could be a big win for either team to kick off the season. All right, let's talk some of the other area games to watch. We'll be flipping through those. SEM, Ansley Litchfield, that's a game that will be on our sister station, K-Bear. Jason Jorgensen, along with Cade Moore, will have the call of that one. That should be a fun one to see how SEM is this season after having a couple trips to the state championship.
All the question marks, that we need to be answered. We'll learn more about SEM early.
What other games, Scott, are you kind of circling for what we could see this week?
I tell you, one of the things that I find is interesting is Adams Central and Minden. Both of those teams I think could be good. Adams Central started slow last year and then really built. They got a great program. Minden has been up the last few years. How about a great rivalry game in Cambridge and Arapahoe, starting the year off with your arch rival? That should be fun, too.
Yeah, Arapahoe, they're a team that lost a lot from last season, so it'll be fun to see how these kind of new players step into new roles, but they do return some beef on the line and probably going to rely on that a lot. For the couple games I have circled, Donovan Trumbull, Amherst. That was a great game a season ago. Both teams had some success. Amherst is one of those teams you always expect to be in the mix. And then maybe a game that's a little bit interesting. Out in the Panhandle, North Platte St. Patrick's is taking on Bridgeport. I have heard out of the Panhandle from some people I know out there that this Bridgeport team can make some noise going up against a St. Patrick's team that it obviously is always in the mix. So that could be a fun game to watch out for.
Yeah, you just never know. Early in the season, these are good ones to get here. So we'll see what Bridgeport can do.
And that'll do it for this first edition of the Press Box Preview. Again, we've got 3 games coming up across our airwaves this week. First up at 6 p.m. on Cami Country, it will be Lexington taking on Holdrege. KUVR will be on the call for that one. John Schilling will be out there. On 880 KRVN, it's Gothenburg taking on Ogallala. Myself, Scott Foster, will be on the call from Gothenburg, from Swede Nation. And then Cozad taking on Sidney at Haymaker Stadium. Tyler Cavalli, Jacob Roth will have the call for that one. Thanks so much for tuning into this first edition of the Press Box Preview. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you next time.